Does he believe in providence? The average formamentis of that category of person is essentially, the universe depends on me, I can't switch off, I must worry about it. Nature works without worry, and the Lord calmly invites us to look at it. It's greatly liberating. The mode of receiving is quite different from that of worrying. We receive life. We receive it 1 second at a time. Let's not spoil that second. It'll never come again. The first reading is very strong-worded. There are 2 lists. The first one, although in this translation coming through in words which are somewhat archaic, is actually strangely modern. There is a plethora here of fruits of the flesh. Many are to do with impurity, desire, the old word is concupiscence. But then there are others to do with temper and what comes from it, or what leads to it, envy and jealousy. And then the end product, division and strife. I want, on this day, in the context of what we are praying for at a distance, but closely linked to in spirit, the great meeting in Dublin with the Holy Father in the midst, to look into what concerns you certainly, and what would have concerned me in the monastery, but in a different way is bound to be also a concern. Quality of relationship in family. The tension that has been in the air in this event from the part of those who are aware of how it can be hijacked is there. It's sort of underground, but a lot are aware of the problem. That there is a great interest in certain groups to use world platforms of this nature to push something. I think you know what I mean. Well, let's just look at 1 or 2 issues calmly. In this time of uncovering various big cans of worms on the level of things which have been going on, but often actually in the distant past by now, we forget that. However, it's an issue, a big issue. One can question, God forgive me for saying this in public, but I'm sharing my own feeling about it because it's a worry for me. One can question the wisdom of using parts of this big event to allow a certain normalization of a certain type of family. I think you know again what I mean. Now let's see what's going on here. Right now, we're uncovering, as I say, a terrible can of worms, and it's coming to the surface that one big issue has been there. It's this question of a certain allowing to go through the net, and therefore the consequences building up higher up as time goes on, of people with a certain type of attraction. Now the priesthood can attract that kind of person because there is a large presence of males around, in formation and so on. Therefore, and I speak here as novice master when I was in the monastery, this is something that can't be just brushed over. It has to be looked on and handled and hit head on. Why? I'll tell you why. We as novice masters had to suss out before anything else happened whether this kind of thing might be there. Why? You can't afford to take risks in a small community of males. It's just too dodgy. Things go wrong very quickly if people are in there who aren't safe. Okay, I change mode. What, therefore, has been reacted against strongly now, even by the lay people and the media, as something horrid and not to be tolerated, on the other end, at the same time, on a world platform, is, as it were, being encouraged indirectly. And also, let's get this straight. What has been called pedophilia is not quite accurate. It's more a question of homosexuality. And there are facts, statistics, figures proving that right now. So there is a problem. Now let's not be two-faced about this. Either something is sinful or it's not. Okay, people then react. Well, one thing is the tendency and attraction, the other is the outliving of it. But what's going on here? If, in the context of honouring this precious gift of God, which is family life, one is putting on a parallel other forms of family life, which are not under his blessing, and actually directly contravening what we have in the first reading, as it were, invoking the blessing of God upon mortal sin made public, there's something wrong! Terribly, terribly wrong! And we're acting against the Lord's will and damaging our own testimony as a church. We don't seem to be able to see further than the tip of our nose. I want to zoom into one area. This has created a terrible upset to the lay people, because what's come to the fore is that massively there have been priests, and it would seem even bishops, who have been living a double life. That means that at the altar, which is the realm of intimacy par excellence, where a priest is far more close to his Saviour than any couple can be in marriage, that there has been sacrilege. As in the bad marriage, if the husband is having affairs and still having relations with his wife, it's awful as regards the double-mindedness going on there. And it's going on more than you think, e.g. in the private life of many a man on his computer. I don't go into detail, but I'll leave it to your imagination. But listen to this. Sacrilege is something which takes away any possibility of bonding with the Lord. It's a devastatingly sad interior scene. We can't see it, it's all cosmically protected. But the angels can, and the Lord certainly can. Listen to these words of the Father himself to our own St. Catherine of Siena in the dialogue. But anyone who would approach this gracious sacrament while guilty of deadly sin would receive no grace from it, even though such a person would really be receiving me, as I am, holy God, holy human. It's obviously the Son of God himself speaking here. But do you know the situation of the soul who receives the sacrament unworthily? She is like a candle that has been doused with water and only hisses when it is brought near the fire. The flame no more than touches it, but it goes out and nothing remains but smoke. Just so, this soul brings the candle she received in holy baptism and throws the water of sin over it, a water that drenches the wick of baptismal grace that is meant to bear the light. And unless she dries the wick out with the fire of true contrition, by confessing her sin, she will physically receive the light when she approaches the table of the altar, but she will not receive it into her spirit. if the soul is not disposed as she should be for so great a mystery, this true light will not graciously remain in her, but will depart, leaving her more confounded, more dark-souled, and more deeply in sin. She will have gained nothing from this sacrament but the hissing of remorse, not because of any defect in the light, for nothing can impair it, but because of the water it encountered in the soul, the water that so drenched her love that she could not receive this light. What's going on in church life today? We think that we're helping souls by watering down and not insisting upon our faith. I just quote here the great Newman in his work at the Church of the Fathers. He has a logical mind. Listen to his thought. At the end of his study of St. Anthony the Hermit, Newman writes, "If I must choose between the fashionable doctrines of one age and of another, certainly I shall prefer that which requires self-denial and creates hardihood and contempt of the world, over some of the creeds now in esteem, which rob faith of all its substance, its grace, its nobleness, and its strength, and excuse self-indulgence by the arguments of spiritual pride, self-confidence, and security." I hardly need to add a word of comment, but I will add just one. As we say in detectives, who done it? Well, the answer is simple. The enemy of the soul is the enemy of the church, and he can see perfectly what will work to make sure that the maximum number of souls on this earth are either in a state of sacrilege or in a state of ignorance. So let's be clear. We're here in hand-to-hand warfare against a power that we do not know.